Hi everyone, we are back for our fourth installment of the series where we've been creating a retro-style side-scrolling action game from scratch in Construct 2. And Corey is with me again here. Say hi, Corey.
Hey, how's it going?
And so we've got a lot to do. The first thing we're going to do is re-import the spriter project for the character. And what I did was I managed to retrieve from the Amiga project version the actual death animation. Let me zoom out a bit. It's not been cleaned up yet, but you get the idea. And the hit frame, we were using a placeholder hit frame. This is the current latest version of that hit frame for when the character gets hit. And the other thing I wanted to mention that I changed is in the attack or the punch animation. Originally we had built in a big attack blur, and I removed that because in the game, depending on what power-up you get, that's going to affect the visual effect that comes out when you attack. So, you might get like a fire power or electricity or whatever. Instead of having the image built in Spriter, I added this little spawning point that gives us the coordinate to create that other object. So there's that, and then usually by default the Alt plus click option in Spriter is set to creating bones, but you can actually, if you click on that, you can change it to collision boxes or points. So that's how I made the point. Then I just held Alt and clicked and dragged, and you can see not only can I create a point, if I keep the left mouse button held down, I can actually set the angle too. So I could have a shot appear at that exact spot and start moving at that exact angle. So it's very convenient. And you can have as many of those as you want in any given part of an animation in Spriter. And then the last thing I just remembered I needed to do that I haven't done yet for this is to add what's called an event trigger. And those are really cool. It's a feature of Spriter Pro. Right at this exact moment in the attack, where the thing should be spawned and where there is a spawning point, I'm going to right click down here, like on this left hand column of the timeline, and choose append event trigger at time. Have you ever seen this feature, Corey, in Spriter?
No.
All
No,
right.
I haven't seen this.
All right, so the cool thing is you can create these event triggers at very exact moments in your animation, and you can use this information in game engines like Construct to, like, if you need to spawn another object, if you need to make something happen in the game, in the level, like let's say there's like a flipping a switch animation or something like that in the
Hmm.
character, and you want at a very specific moment in that sequence of the animation, you want the screen to start rumbling because flipping that switch made this ancient giant stone door start to open somewhere else in the level, right? You can use these event triggers to trigger these exact things at exact moments in the animation of your character. It's a way to communicate to the rest of the game that something specific should be happening, and because it's simply an event trigger with its own timeline, so we're just going to put punch in all caps because it's exciting. And so you can see now down here we have this thing called punch, which is an event trigger, and it's got its own little timeline keyframe here.
Oh, cool.
So
Yeah.
if I decide later on that it happens at not quite the right moment, we can just click and drag it to a different spot on the timeline, and so we can really perfect the overall effect and sort of uh, perfect the interactions of the characters' animations with the rest of the game world. So it's a very cool feature, and we're going to use it to let the game know that at this exact moment we should spawn the punch effect at that exact spot for this point. So,
Okay.
so now I'm going to save this out, save project as, and I have to save it out as both the SCML and the scan for uses in Construct 2 in this particular mode that I'm using anyway. Save project as. Alright, so now with that event trigger added, we need to drag it back into the spriter. Let's see. Drag it back into this frame here. So just do this and grab the hero.sml. Yes, I do. And spriter events. You can see it added the new sprites that it requires for those frames of animation. And then the other thing we're going to do is we need to go into the spriter events and delete the old uninitialize. And now we have, yeah, that's all the same. Yep, okay. All good. So now what we can do, I guess I'll just test it, make sure it shows the new animations. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Oops. Yep, I just saw there was no attack blur, so it's definitely working. Get hit. There's the hit frame. I do see eventually, like, he's facing the wrong way when he gets hit, so I might flip it. Say like he literally turns around.
Yeah.
So we don't want that to happen. So let's do that right now, actually, while we're at it, because that's a little annoying.
Is that because the code sort of just like based on which direction he's moving, it flips him that way?
Yeah, if he gets hit from the right hand side, then he goes flying to the left, away from the point of impact. But because the inertia is that way, currently in our code it says if he's moving that way, then make him face that way.
All right, yeah.
But we could just do a really easy trick and just flip the hit animation to be facing the opposite way that every other thing is pointing.
Oh yeah, that works.
So we can just, and it's only 1 frame, so that makes it pretty painless. So all we need to do is change the X scale to 1, drag it over here. So, so he'll stay facing the right way, and then he'll, automatically, this will work. That's the one question. Do I need to make him turn back around when you're done getting hit? Which, if so, is a super easy thing to take care of. So let me see, file, save project as. Alright, and then drag that back in. Oops, wrong layout, darn it. Let's see, abort. Alright, there we go. Okay, so spriter events. Alright, let's see what happens now. Alright, so yeah, when he was finished getting hit, he is facing the wrong direction, which obviously we don't want, so I'll just make it so. But if you're holding it, then it's seamless if you're holding that direction. So we're just going to make it so that, let's see, save my progress. On animation hit finished. And so we have, you see how we set X hit speed to 0? So we're going to add a sub event. And in the sub event, we're going to we're going to add a condition, and we're going to do player compare instance variable X hit speed, and we're going to say if it's less than 0, that means he's going to the left, then we want him to be facing the right. So we want him to be not flipped. So hero, let's see, that's under appearance, I think. No, Where is the mirroring? Ah, okay, size and position, there we go. X-axis, don't, okay. And then if it's greater than 0, we want to flip it. And then this, of course, won't work because already up here it's being set to 0, so these will never be true. So we need to add one more blank sub-event and move this down here. So it'll do these checks first, and then it'll set it to 0. Alright, so let's run the layout and see if this works. Nope. Okay, I think I know why though. Okay. There was another way I could have handled it that may have been better, which is to just find the code that flips him and make it check, and don't flip him if he's playing the hit animation, if that makes sense. But let me see if I could figure it out this way, since I started this way. Okay, let's see. The reason this is happening... Yeah, I think the reason this is happening is because he still has a tiny bit of inertia. He doesn't come to a dead stop when he lands. So I'm just going to test this theory, and we're going to also set his vector x to absolutely 0. And we can even do that right up at the top. But so yeah, hit might finish and he could still be in the air, so that's going to be really jarring. So we don't want to do this, but I'm just testing if my theory is correct. So I'm running it, or I think I am. I think I clicked run. Yep. Why is it minimized? That's weird. It does that sometimes. All right, let me get hit. Yeah, now it works great, but if I'm in the air, you could see I suddenly fall straight down when the animation is done. It's actually not that noticeable because my X movement is mostly done by that point, but it did fix the issue. So that is a problem. We do want to keep that inertia, so no matter what, we do need to let me get rid of that. And we need to go to the part that flips. So mirror. Here it is right here. You see the vector? So we're going to add another condition that says, let's see, hero, compare current animation, hit. And we can invert that. And actually, if we want to, we'll just put garbage in here for now. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to delete that. But I just created a blank event, and I'm going to put the animation check here. And then I can make both of these sub-events. Does that make sense? So now it does this check once, and if that's true, it'll do both of these things.
Okay.
So now... let's see what happens. Yep, but now he's flipped the wrong way, ironically. So we can go back in Spriter and flip him. Yep, that's the more elegant solution. Okay. So, false start, but hey, it's alright. Bring that back. Hey, there we go, move him over here. That's good. Just double check it was saved as a scan the first time. There we go. Okay. Now we will import that again. Alright, this time for sure. Spreader events. Okay, now it should be perfect. Oh.
Did he?
Yeah, well, that's because we had that code to compensate to reflip them, which we don't need anymore, if you recall.
Right, yeah.
So, where was I? Should just keep that filter on. So, there. This stuff can go away now. Alright. I think it should be good now. Nope, darn it. What am I doing? What, like what?
Hmm?
Why didn't that work? Alright, hold on. So that wasn't the problem. Let's see. Let's see, it's moving.
Is it because you've got it set as the, like, it says as current animation hit, but it's the opposite of that, so it's only doing that if it's not the hit animation?
Yeah, any animation but hit. Which is correct, right? Like the problem was... Oh, I know what I can do. When he gets hit, I've got chirping birds. Can you hear it on your end?
A little bit, yeah.
It's early morning here, so nature's alarm clock. Let's see. All right. So on collision is not flashing, so here it is. So this is him getting hit from the left or the right. So interesting. Yeah, no, I shouldn't be flipping him here because it looks right when he gets hit. So that was really weird that it was... Oh, it's back to the inertia issue, because I think that's the problem. When he's done with hit, he still has the inertia in that direction and it turns him around. It's the inertia issue again. Darn inertia. Right? So he lands, he's back to normal idle, he's still sliding that way a little bit. So because he's sliding that way a little bit, that's the issue. So, how do we fix that?
I mean, it might seem a little hacky to do like a variable that controls the sprite's direction.
Yeah, no,
that's like
yeah.
that would be, you know, that would take a lot of time to insert that into every place it needed to be.
Not
I
really,
guess,
because
but...
the usually it's just based on the input. Like if the player had pressed left or right, then the character should definitively be facing left or right until the player presses the other direction.
Right.
So it's pretty painless. Like the only reason that I didn't add something like that already is because we don't have the actual player input controls. We're just using the default platform engine, platform behavior controls. But that actually is the solution. So I am going to, in fact, just create a variable called left or right. Let's see, we have them. Oh no, we have them in here. So we'll add it here. I'm thinking, should I add here? Or since I'm going to have a bunch of other stuff for controls in global values, I'll add it here.
Yeah, because I was thinking that might come into play in other situations.
Yeah.
Where, like maybe he needs to, rear back for an attack or something and move backwards, kind of thing,
Yeah,
or a moonwalking as well, like
yeah.
when we add the moonwalking animation for his victory of every level.
That is true. I did make his some of his sound effects, including getting hit, which does sound a lot like. So, I guess he might actually need a moonwalk at some point. So he starts facing right, so that's +1, and then we will do. Yeah, I mean, because of that, I mean, yeah. So we'll leave this problem as is right now, because really the only way to fix this properly is once the actual control input stuff is set up. Right. Because we're going to need to detect whether or not left or right was pressed, and that could be from the keyboard, from I guess I'll hack it in right now. It's not that bad. So player animation, we'll add it right to the top here. Actually, no, we're going to do a separate event sheet. Add event sheet, and this will be called player input. And for now, we're just going to put add event just keyboard, and then we're going to do on key pressed, and it's going to be right arrow, and we're going to say on right arrow pressed, and we're going to set value left or right to 1. Oh wait, did I set? Yeah, right. Okay, that's good. And then if left arrow is pressed, then we're going to set this to -1. There we go. So now we can go back here. We're going to need to reverse the flip that hit animation again, I think, in Spriter. So is current animation hit? If it is not playing, because this currently works in that it keeps it looking like it's not facing the wrong way. That's okay. The problem is, okay, we've got the inertia thing.
So you could either flip the frame again, or you could just, I guess, leave that bit of code there. I guess that's just kind of the option you have. Either way.
Okay, here it is. So what we need to do is, these right now are based on vector. That's the bad thing, right?
Okay.
So we're going to replace this condition with simply checking left or right. There we go. I think this will work. Compare variable left or right equals, I assume I did right first. We'll see. Don't mirror. Yeah, that's right. And we'll get rid of this. And then this should be -1.
Right, yeah, okay.
There we go. It was
so
the inertia was the problem.
Our
and
variable.
And the reason we were using inertia is because the control stuff wasn't set up yet. The other thing we need to do, though, is include event sheet, player input. Okay, we're on track now. So we're including 2 event sheets, Spriter events and player input. And so now that player input is that's going to be what controls which direction the player is facing.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I hate the way it doesn't pop up sometimes. It's very inconvenient. Alright, so. Beautiful.
Nice.
That fixed it. Alright, so I'll get hit in the air.
I love the floaty power-ups that you have to...
Yeah, it's really nice. It's a really nice...
Have to jump up and get, it's very cool.
Yep. Established in Black Belt on the Sega Master System and sort of Contra. The way they flew overhead, you had to shoot them, but otherwise the fact that they come flying horizontally overhead is Like those are the two games I can think of, two popular games that introduced that general idea and did it well. All right, and I just realized there's one more thing we need to do to wrap it up. If we look at the input events, which are where, let's see. Oh, player input, okay. So you should not be able to do these things when you're stuck in a move. So, like, you can't change your character's direction. Like, if you're getting hit at the moment, we don't want you to be able to swap which way you're facing. So, we're going to compare variable. Stuck and move. Oh, stuck and move is not a global value. It's in the player box. Compare instance value. Stuck and move equals 0. And again, we could add. There we go. Blank sum event. I'm gonna drag that up. And we're going to put stuck and move as 0 here, and we're going to put both of them in there. Okay, so now only if you're not stuck in a move. So now it should work perfectly. I can't switch directions midair even though I'm hit by pressing left or right. Yeah, I turned on my own there, so that made perfect sense. Okay, that made sense because it hit me on the other side after I was flashing. Oop. I'm doing fancy stuff here. Hold on.
I like how his hair kind of, gets thrown around when he's jumping. That's a nice touch.
Thanks. One frame, it was the only way I could add some livelihood to the, you know what I mean? Like ideally, if I had the memory to spare, since this is being based on the, I moonwalked because I was stuck in the, did you see that? We don't force his.
Oh yeah.
I know exactly why this is happening, but yeah, another thing we need to fix.
I predicted it somehow.
Yeah. So even before we get the sound effect in. So, all right, let's fix these issues. Back to the events. Spring from the fact that we're using the default stuff. For it to control them, like we've got to move away from that sooner than later to fix these kinds of issues. So yeah. I am going to drop it for now and do the other stuff on the list and then come back to finally cleaning all that up because it's a fairly time-consuming thing. We just need to set up a bunch of variables and input detections. So for now, let's move to the other stuff on the list, which is, here's a fun little thing. So if everyone remembers, we have these little placeholder sprites that let us design our game by deciding when these, in this case, enemy bats will appear either from the left or right when you scroll to a certain point, and it just spawns them and has them fly the right direction depending on which side they're spawning from. But what we're going to do is we're going to add to both of them. So I'll pick one of them. I'll do instance variable, and we're going to do speed. Let's see. Intentionally misspelling it here for a second. So we'll just do an arbitrary 200 for now. But the point is, and I'll do the same thing here.
One thing I had a thought about these bad enemies and how this, like they pretty much right now they just kind of fly left and right. And I noticed like if we do have them up high, that there's the potential of the player maybe just not even engaging with them and just kind of walking past.
Right. I made these
them.
too high.
So I didn't know if maybe we wanted to add something to them to like maybe they'll swoop down and try to get you, or maybe there's a little vertical movement to make them more challenging. I don't know. Like
we could definitely.
Thought I had though, but
we can definitely increase their intelligence. We also might we've got some other cool enemies like more falcon-like enemies and stuff in the works, so that maybe those will be in later levels and more intelligent, or you know what I mean. Like some we could give the behavior to. Like kind of hover in front of you or over your head and then swoop down and stuff like that. So we can definitely do that stuff. Like, for now, let's just get the general stuff working and then start
Right.
refining and adding more sophisticated AI to the enemies. So, okay, so both directions, they now have a variable called speed with two S's. And the reason I did that, I think you can't name a variable. I could be mistaken, but I think you can't name an instance variable the exact name as a value that actually exists, like speed, or I can't think of what the other ones are. Anyway, that might not even be the case, but I think it is. Could be a false memory, though, from the other authoring tools I use. But anyway, so now that we have that, we're going to add in the event that spawns it. So I'm going to find create. Is it create? No, it's not. It must be spawn. There we go. So this is where you spawn it and set its angle. So we need one more thing, which is going to be to set its speed. So this is the coming from the right. So that's this one. So we're going to do that, set speed, and we're going to set its speed to S speed, correct. And that should be right there. And we're going to do the same thing, but we need to change, we're going to replace the object and replace this with this. There we go. So now what we can do is each one of these, so we'll make it, to test it really quickly, we'll make the very first bat obscenely slow.
Okay.
So we'll give him a speed of 5.
Oh,
and I know it is. It's
incredibly
obscene.
slow.
Offensively so. All right, so there he is.
Oh, he's making it. He's making it.
You can hear the huffing and puffing now. Poor thing. I want to put it out of its misery. Plus, it's so low. It's like it's flopping around on the ground like a fish. Put him out of his misery from behind. He didn't even see it coming. You know, it seemed like the more humane thing to do.
Yes.
All right, so that works. All right, so now we can carefully choreograph the position and speed of all of these flying enemies. Just as a side note, one of the cool things with Construct is you could also, like, let's say we were giving these enemies hit points so they took more than one hit to destroy. Like, if that was an instance variable, you could give each one its own hit points, like number of hit points. Like, you could make some weaker, like 5 hit points, make some take 10 hit points to kill, and you can make each one its own size. So if we did something like this, right? Then we could actually say, you know, when it's time, spawn the enemy, set its direction the right way, set its speed the right way, set its hit points, you know, like, so we could add a variable in this box for hit points, and then we could even, in the event, say, after you create it, set the scale of the enemy to match the scale of the box. You know what I mean? So, not so useful in this careful pixel art game where you don't want stuff to be upscaled and look all blocky or get blurry. But it's just a cool thing in Construct that even though they're all instances of the same sprite, you can change their size, their variables, like their beginning variables relative to each other can all be different, which is pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that is done, and then we're going to move on to, okay, adding death functionality is the next one. So, actually, there's one thing I want to do first. It bugs me that that when you throw a punch, there's no visible attack effect. So let's just quickly add that in. I'm going to go to the spriter layer. I'm going to add a sprite. And we are going to load in the art I have. Oh, there it is. So I'm not going to load it that way. I'm going to load it here. Import frames from strip. And I'm going to find the strip image, and I'm going to tell it that it's 3 frames, and we're going to replace that blank frame.
So it'll just automatically subdivide it based on the number
exactly.
you put in, like.
Yeah, it does the math for you.
Nice.
Um,
That'll be handy.
exactly. Apply to whole animation, and then this should be a fast animation, so we'll try 20 for now. We will give this its a fade behavior, so it automatically destroys itself. Let's see. Fade. And we'll just fake it for now. I don't feel like doing math, so wait time 0. Back to this math stuff. Who needs it? Fade out time 0001. All right, so there's that, and then let's give it a bullet movement. Bullet movement as well. And we do not want its angle to be changed with its movement. And this particular one is going to be slow. So who knows? Let's give it 10. We saw how slow 5 was on that poor bat. So, all right, save progress. Let's see, we're going to call this tech sprite. All right, so now we are going to go into the gameplay events. We're going to look for, I think it's called punch. All right. Yeah, so remember that what we did, we're going to add a new event, and that event is called, or I shouldn't say it's called, it's checking the hero thing, and we're going to check for that trigger. So this somewhere there's on event trigger, sound trigger, on event trigger, here we go. And it was punch, all caps. And we are going to create an object. I always forget, it's not under general. Oh yeah, no it is, create object. Somehow I just didn't see it. We're going to create that, FG, and we are going to retrieve, where's hero? Oh, I can type here to find it. There we go. We are going to retrieve the X and Y specifically of a point. Okay, so we need to know the exact name of that point, which is go to punch. So if I double click, it'll select that name, so I can literally paste it in to make sure that it's exact. And then same thing, object Y. I think this is correct. Okay, and then so the other thing we need to do, we're going to add a blank sum event, and we're going to say, we're going to check if the player is mirrored or not. If it is mirrored, then we want to also mirror this. Set mirrored. Horizontally, yes, set mirrored. And then if it's not, then we want to do the opposite. And same thing with the bullet. By default, I think it comes out going to the right, so we need to do just for this one, let's see, set angle of movement, of motion I mean, and that's 180. Okay, and it'll destroy itself. So I think that's all we need. Let's see if this works. Nice.
Ah, yeah. Very cool effect.
Oh, we can still moonwalk. I forgot about that. We'll fix that soon. Oh wait, no, it's moving the wrong way. Hold on, I've got something reversed. Yeah, it's moving the opposite direction it should be. Interesting.
Yeah, notice the sort of trick you're using of adding a little bit more animation to the effect to make it look like his hand is moving more than it is,
Exactly.
even though he's kind of, yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, like I will eventually extend the visible part of the arm and gauntlet a little too, to pull this off better and have a more of a motion blur built into the arm itself. But that's animating the poor thing. Animating the... Whoa, that was a fast bat. 200 is apparently a very good speed, a very fast speed. That's a spry young bat. Whoa. Moonwalk. I'm fancy now. Right, but it's working, so now my question is, do I want to make it so that when you do the regular punch, and it's not like supposed to be a magic missile or anything like that, do we want it to actually track with the player in the Y coordinate? Does that make sense?
Right.
Like right here I can walk ahead of it, which looks weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at the very
it
least
gets away from you.
Yeah. At the very least it has to move forward a lot faster. But I think in this case, for when it's playing this animation, it should just stick to the player in the X and Y, which means it can't have its own... We can't just use a bullet behavior in this case for this version of the attack. But for now, let's just do... If this thing is playing default... If its default animation is playing, then set position to another object. Actually, we'll just do set position. There we go, set position. So the X will be player box X. We're gonna have to do one depending on a different variant depending on which way he's facing. Oh! Wow, I've never seen that before. Construct 2 just noped out.
Oh.
That's never happened before. And we caught it on video.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a shocker. Luckily, I save incessantly, so I'm sure I didn't lose a lot of work, but I'm sure I lost some tiny bit. And I'll probably speed up this footage of catching back up.
Okay.
And probably overlap some Benny Hill music while I'm doing it. Alright, let's see. Alright, Alright, a few things going on here. So we're going to do this because it should happen when it's spawned, but then also even when it's not.
And just to be clear, like, you know, the main reason for the separation of the effect from him is so that if you change his
Power up,
or
right.
something, like that effect
will
change,
go flying. Yeah.
and
like,
he'll just stay the same. So that sounds,
Yeah.
it sounds, you know, like the proper way to do it for sure.
Yeah, like it's so we need to only when the animation of the attack effect is the default one, like no power up, should it be anchored to him, which is why I'm about to add this here. So add another condition, compare is playing default, and we'll do that same thing. We'll add blank sub event, drag this to the top. That's a sneaky way to do it. There we go. And then alright, and then here's we're going to anchor its position as well. So if it is mirrored, then we're going to set its position, set position. The X will be this. This is just going to be a guess. Its X position, we'll say minus 32, and its Y position will be the Y position, also minus 32. This is just a guess, and then we're going to... Did I mention I'm only guessing at this point? So this will be plus 32.
Well, You know, if you have to come up with a random number, just
Might as well guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. All right. Oop. Oh, wow.
Whoa.
That is
What?
just... What did I do? I must be controlling the wrong sprite accidentally. What did I do that is causing that? That is definitely freaky. Is attack playing? If he's mirrored... What on earth could be causing that weird behavior?
Yeah, you're definitely.
It looks like it's
only
teleporting
referencing
the
attack
player.
effect. Yeah.
Alright, what we're going to do is... Oops. There we go. We're going to disable these new things and see if there's some other issue going on that we didn't notice before. Yeah, the weirdness is happening. Oh.
Whoa.
It's almost like we have two spriter objects going at once or something.
Wait.
Off sync from each other.
Well,
Something
you
very
didn't. You
glitchy
didn't
is
re-import the guy and not delete the old one, right? Like that. Is there?
There's only the one
No, there's only one.
uninitialized.
Huh.
I've never seen anything like this before. There's a lot of firsts happening right now. Constructor crashed. And let's see. Spriter.
I mean, what were you doing right before the effect stuff? It seemed to be working fine before.
Yeah, that's very weird. I am just to cover all the possibilities, I'm going to re-import this guy. And then go to the spriter event, delete that. Nope, still has the weird... And you see how we're seeing doubles. Like, there's definitely one behind the other. How weird is that? Alright. Now everything about the triggered event is disabled. Man, it's back there. How annoying is that? Oh, it's sunlight. Oh, look. So I do have some weirdness with the triggered event, but what was interesting is create object hero. What a doofus. My fault.
Oh.
How could I have not noticed that? Toggle disable. Toggle disable. That was causing all the weirdness. And I'm sure our viewers saw that stupid mistake. And there we go. Now everything should be good. Famous last words. There. So my 32 was way off, but otherwise it's looking great, and now it perfectly follows the player. Beautiful.
I mean, I seriously had this dark feeling that was some kind of bug
Corruption
going on,
exactly.
yes, corrupt file or corrupt spriter file or some,
Yeah, I simply created the wrong object. I can't believe I did that or didn't spot that I had accidentally done it. Okay, so now we just need to tweak that 32, so we could just do a search for 32, bring us right to it, and that should be more like 16 or something like that. And the same thing here, make sure we're changing it on the X and not the Y. The height seemed pretty much correct, right? I think. It was just the X was too far away. This episode definitely requires the Benny Hill soundtrack, and at least in a couple of spots. Yeah, it's a little too high, but the position feels pretty good now. Alright, cool. Alright, so let's reduce the height by like 8 pixels, 24.
Wait, wouldn't that be raising the height? Oh, wait.
No, minus.
No, you're right. It's see? The math got me.
Yep. We're reinforcing the terrible stereotype of artists not being able to math. Alright, so I'll just assume that's good enough for now and move on to the next thing, since we're doing such a bang-up job with each of these feature additions. Death functionality. Okay, so I have an animation. Did I call it die or death? I called it die, lowercase. So we're going to make it so that when your hit points reach 0, when die, and then we need to add lives, which I didn't even... so first things first, we're going to need lives counter on the HUD. So I'm going to actually I'm going to hold Control and click and drag to create another one of these. But in this one, we are going to make its initial text to 3, and we're going to do this. We'll make it fit up to 99 lives, and put it here, and we're going to create an instance value now for this. We'll call it which, and we will make this one, so we'll make lives, we'll make 0, and score we will make 1. Okay?
Okay.
So lives is 0. And now we're also going to clear that. We're going to add a global value called lives. Lives. We're going to set that to 3 by default. Okay, and then we are going to... We have a group called HUD, I think, somewhere. Or update HUD, here it is. So we're going to do health box. Where's the sprite? So let me search for sprite font.
Has anyone ever made a game where like there's like a cat main character and they give them 9 lives?
That would be the appropriate thing to do, but that's a good question.
Yeah.
It would be kind of a cool gimmick too if like those were the only 9 lives you're ever going to have.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Copyright.
Yeah.
Let's see. What we need to do here, before the sprite font, we need to make sure it's the right sprite font now for the score. So where is sprite font? Sprite font, compare instance value, and the scores was a value of 1. And now I'm going to copy this whole thing, and I'm going to change update score to update lives. And final score text. Yeah, we don't need all that fanciness, or do we? Should it say? I guess even the lives it'll say like 0, 3 if you have 3. Should we do that?
Yeah, that's a good
It's less
question.
important with lives. I guess we'll not have that.
Yeah, it would depend on like if it's a common thing for you to get a bunch of lives somehow,
Yeah.
sort of like
Yeah, that's
Mario
a good
does
point.
or something.
Yeah,
But
yeah, no, we won't.
maybe
do the
it won't
fanciness.
be. Yeah, so
All right, so we don't need this, and we don't need a fancy loop. So we'll get rid of this as well, and it's just a matter of if this equals 0, which is lives, then we're going to set the text to string, and then the global value of lives. There we go. So that's fine. So we just need to call this function when you die, but we haven't made anything able to kill you yet. So now, kill enemies. Let's see, get hurt. Oh, there's nothing in get hurt yet. Let's see. This all makes sense to put here. I guess I'll make, under that, I'll make a new group called die. Very unfriendly group name. Add some event, and this is going to be compare value hit points equals. We'll do lower or equal in case there are things that hit you for more than one point at a time. So you could jump from having like 1 hit point to -1 or -2 or whatever. So less or equal to 0. And then we are going to also, we're going to add another condition if the hurt animation is playing. Animation, compare current animation. And is it just called a hit, I believe? That's why it's always good to have the spriter file open so you can double check your animation names. Hit. It's also case sensitive, keep that in mind, so you really have to have the exact name. Alright, is animation hit. Now we're going to play the animation. Oh, set animation there, it was right under it. It was just die, right? Lowercase. Play from start, that's what we want. And we definitely need to set stuck and move to 0. Back. Don't want you to be able to just get out of dying by throwing a punch or whatever.
I want to be able to do that.
That would be pretty cool, I must say. Set value, stuck and move to 1.
Yeah, I remember the old days of playing like the old Rampage game.
Yeah.
And I remember I used to love it, you know, and you could play it like co-op. And then one day, like, I realized you just have infinite lives in that game. Like, you just keep respawning, and you never, there's no continues,
it's
no
all
lives.
about the score. Yeah.
So, you're pretty much just bashing your way to the end. It's just a matter of taking the time, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun, but, like, once I realized that, I kind of was, like, way less interested in playing.
They kind of made the game like you're just playing through the motions, which is interesting because obviously that's the exact opposite. Like in the arcade, obviously they want to gobble as many of your quarters as possible. Mm-hmm. So I guarantee you there's limited lives in that game, in the real game.
Yeah.
So it's interesting they decided, what version was that? 8-bit Nintendo or what?
Yeah, like the NES, yeah.
Yeah, they
I know they fixed that with later games, but in the original, or I know that wasn't the original, the arcade was.
Yeah, the original NES version,
right?
Like you could just keep respawning as much as you wanted to, like basically infinite lives or infinite continues or whatever.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, that's not
interesting factoid.
Yep. Yeah, you get rid of any sense of risk or whatever that's really going to kill a lot of the sense of satisfaction of having beat the game.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so second move is 1. So now we need to do a check. Actually, we're going to add a sub event to this. And all right, so we need to check. Obviously, we need to subtract the number of lives now, but first we're going to check lives. Compare variable lives is greater than 0. Then we're just going to subtract 1 from lives. Set value. No, not set value. Subtract from lives 1, and we're going to call the function update lives. Hopefully this is how I typed it. Update score. Where's update lives? Where's the function? Let's try update lives on update lives. Okay. Now I have to re-find where I was, which I think is toward the, let's see, where's die? There's die. Alright, so, and then the other thing we need to do, eventually we're going to do a nice fancy fade out and then fade back in, but for now we're just going to abruptly, let's see, once the death animation is done, I should say, we're going to abruptly just restart the level.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so let's see. Yeah, no, I guess we could just do that no matter what at this point. And then, yeah, okay, so add new event below, and on animation finished, die. So now the question becomes add sub event. Now we need to compare lives. Oops. Compare value. Lives. If it's greater than 0. General. It's been so long. Here we go. Restart layout. Found it.
Ah, there it is.
It was under general and not layout, which is a little weird since there's a section called layout.
Right.
Okay, so restart layout, but what we want to do is if you completely die and lose all your lives, we're going to want you to go to there should be some kind of death sequence and then bring you back to the splash page or like a death screen or something, which we don't have yet. So I'm going to add a layout. And for now, I'll just make it jump right to we'll do like a splash screen. But eventually we'll add a specific death scene. So let's see. Or maybe not. I don't know. I don't know which one's better. So, or maybe we'll add just a sort of a pause menu that says continue or exit game. You know what I mean? Something like that. But for now, we'll just make it go to a splash screen. So we're going to add an event sheet as well.
I think the greatest death effect I ever saw was there was this old PS1 game called Return Fire.
Okay.
It was this sort of military vehicle game. It was really fun.
Right.
And if you died, this big sprite of a skull with a military helmet on came into the screen and just laughed at you. And it had a hilarious laugh. And it happened every single time you died. And the reason it was effective is because the game had this 2-player mode where you could try to destroy each other's. It had this capture the flag sort of mechanic. So it was like rubbing it in your opponent's face sort of thing.
Right.
When it happened, it was very beautiful.
Nice.
Nicely done.
Not as nice as my art here, but press fire.
Beautiful.
There we go, and look, it's giant too. Awesome. Okay.
You are an artist.
That is true.
Okay.
Okay, so we have that, and then we're just going to add one event that says we're going to compare time so that you can't instantaneously exit out. Compare time is greater than 1 second. Add another condition. And we'll just, for now, just do this keyboard stuff on key pressed. And we'll make it the A key. Done. Then we're going to go to abruptly go to let's see, general, go to layout by name. Obviously this will change later, but level, layer, that should be layers, but okay. Somehow I missed the S last time. Alright. So, back in here, under die, restart layout, if lives is 0, is greater than 0. If lives is less or equal to 0, then we're going to go to layout, splash, and then the really important thing I forgot, in the splash, when you press fire, because this is a global value, lives, we need to set value of lives, same thing with hit points, to 3, and I think hit points starts at 4, if I remember.
Yeah.
Hit points 4. And then you go to the layout. Okay. So I think we just added death functionality. And I think I still get fooled every time. I'm waiting for it to just pop up automatically here. Alright, so let's get killed. I'll let this poor decrepit bat kill me just so he feels better about himself. Alright.
Ah,
It restarted. I have 3
okay.
lives. Oh wait, no, the 3 lives should be... Oh, did you see that? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Something's up with my function call, apparently. It wasn't updating that properly. Let me think. Let's double check what's going on there. So lives. So it starts at 3, which it did, which equals 0. Set text to string lives. Okay. And then, oh, okay, we'll make it at start of layout to do the same thing. That was one of the big mistakes. So I'm going to copy this whole thing, and I'm going to do start. There must be already a start of layout. So now there's going to be a sub event on start of layout. If it's this,
yeah, because
it's this.
It's just kind of resetting it to 3 every time it starts to go down. I did notice though that when it played the death animation, it subtracted like 2 lives.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
a split second.
I think that was like an illusion created by the fact that it didn't update. It should have said 2. I think. We'll see. On start of layout. Oops, what's going on? Why can't I paste it in here? Can't paste. That doesn't make any sense.
Really?
Oh, I see. It's because of this whole fanciness. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Okay, we can just call the function. Okay, silly me. So here, instead of doing this, that's why we have functions. So we need to call 2 functions. Function update score. Does that make sense? Because remember, this has I created, you can't see it, but there's a local value to this group called final score text. And I couldn't paste it because that value was local to this group, and this is outside of that group. So it was like, hey, you don't have access to that thing, to that
It's not
data.
like a global,
Right, exactly.
global variable or something.
Yep,
Yeah.
so update
Makes sense.
lives. Okay, we're at least closer. Let's see. Let's see if this fixes everything here. Okay, we're at 3. Come here, poor old thing. Let's let you, let's give you a sympathy kill here. What's going on with the collision box? That should have hit me. Oh, I know. I need to change that. It's Sun Collision. I need to make it on... Oh, I almost grabbed that whole thing instinctually. There we go. 2. There we go.
2.
There we go. All right. So that's obviously working. Let's let him... Oh! Did you see that? The hit points did not actually reset for some reason.
Ah, yes.
So... press fire. Now it will. Yep, that's it. When we restart the layout, we need to... Yep. Okay.
Well, that technically
So
works.
when we restart the layout, we need to, let's see here. Restart. Right here, see, we're not resetting the variables.
Hit points, yeah.
Hit points and, yeah, not lives, obviously. We don't want to do that. Set value hit points to 4. And then restart the layout. There we go.
Yeah.
And let's quickly fix that bat problem too. So it's collision. Let's see. Place a hit animation. Get hurt. So you see how it says on collision with?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to replace that with on overlap because it's only considered a collision if it literally just happened. But you can be flickering and invulnerable, and then your invulnerability runs out and you were already overlapping. So that doesn't count as a new collision because you didn't just collide. You've been overlapping for a while. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
So we can't do that. We need it to be overlap. So bat is overlapping another object, and we're doing hero. There we go. There we go. That fixes that bug as well.
Nice.
So, I hate that. I'm always sitting there waiting like a doofus for the screen to show up, and it's never going to come. So, let's see. Gonna get killed.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's better. And it reset, and I have my health back, and I will take many hits to prove it. There we go.
Beautiful.
Everything's working great. Oh, that's the other thing that we can do that I forgot we can do is add sound effects. That's more fun than doing the input. So let's quickly get some sound effects going.
Yeah, I noticed also, and this is something maybe we can tweak later, but I noticed that it removes the life that you have before it restarts the level, and I don't know if that's what you want,
right?
Or
right.
if it's a little jarring when you see it, the number go down before you
right.
restarted.
That's a good point. I didn't even think of that. That does make sense. Like, it'll be nicer. Like, and eventually we'll add a sequence where the player like appears on screen or walks from the right edge of the left edge of the screen onto the screen. Like, during that sequence, the life should go down. Like, here you're using your new life now, so to speak. Or something like that. So yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we'll do that.
But it's a little minor,
Yeah,
thing.
so we're going to be adding sound effects. And while we had stopped recording, I made one more sound to import. Let's see if it imports properly. So sound, import sounds. And we're going to import all of these. Construct will automatically create the OGG versions if you import just the waves, but sometimes the converting process fails. So to avoid that while I'm exporting from my sound editing software, I often just export it as an OGG2 to avoid that annoyance of it sometimes failing. So it's just like sometimes you'll get a hold of a sound sample WAV file that's just not quite the right format and it doesn't like it. Like whatever they're using in Construct to convert it, it just doesn't like it. So this avoids that eventuality. There we go. So yes, I want to import all those. And see, explosion it failed at, and whoosh it failed at. But I already had the OGG version, so it shouldn't matter. Let's see if it did it right. So we have whoosh OGG, whoosh. Yeah, it looks like it did it right. Okay. So I think we're fine. Alright, so now let's have fun and start adding sound effects. So here is him getting hit. So we are going to use audio, and we're going to play, and we're going to select, oh, do I not have a hit? I guess I don't have a hit and a hit sound yet. I didn't realize that. Alright, we'll do that later then.
It's like a, ugh.
Yeah, there should be. I thought I had one. I really did. Yeah. Well, remember, this is, he moonwalks, so it's, alright, so, die, yes, audio, play. We'll do alternate die first, just to see how it sounds, and we're going to do a tag called, like, eventually we might want to give the people the ability to, like, in a menu, to tweak the volume of specific things. So we'll do sound effects.
Yeah, that's always very nice options to include.
Yeah. And then there's that. So now when you die, it will play a sound. Let's see if this works. So let's get ourselves killed. Am I on the right layout? I hope. Yes. Okay. So let's die. That's a real. I'm going to make a quick hit sound too after this. In good old free Audacity. Oh, I didn't hear a darn thing. Did you? Interesting. Let's make sure this is... Okay, it's not muted.
Okay.
Here we go.
Ah, yes.
All right, so now, I'm glad you could hear it. Okay, so now, let's switch that back to alternate die. It's good to have, like, keep trying until you really get a sound you really like.
Yeah.
So, alternate die. And let us try this one. Let me know which one you like better.
Okay.
So what do you think? Maybe we should, viewers, comment below to vote for which death sound you like better. Yeah, it was hard to have even remote poker face. Like, you know, it's like something like 5 in the morning. It's 6, it's almost 7 in the morning. So aside from a slight nap, I'm sleep deprived, hence the need for so much Benny Hill music in this particular video. But anyway, so... What? Oh, say animation, it's the sound. I got confused. Die. And then I will fix the tag again to be sound effects. And let's look for other places when the bat dies, right? So now we can actually play an explosion sound. Just play. Explosion.
I'm so shocked to see all of the options for playing a piece of audio. Like that baffles me that there's so many.
Yeah. You can do the cool stereo panning, like play at object, so depending on the position of the screen.
Very cool.
Yeah, all kinds of fancy stuff. But we're keeping it simple for this game. Like, I want it to be as much like the Amiga version as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And there we go. So now when I punch a bat... Oh, I didn't hear anything, did you? Why would this be the case? Let's try playing that same sound that we know works. We'll play alternate. The bat will do the special death sound. We'll call it the special death sound.
All right.
Okay, that works. So it's
it's something with the sound.
The sound file itself is not good, apparently. Let's see if any of these work. I retrieved them all. I kind of reconverted them from Amiga IFF sound samples. So maybe those are the ones that are having trouble. So we just had an amazing coincidence that the site was muted the first time, and we had sound files that not only were corrupted, but wouldn't make any noise at all. Like, what an amazing coincidence.
Yeah.
Okay, it's super faint. You might not hear it. Do you hear it when you land?
Mm-hmm. I can't quite hear it on my end.
Okay. Yeah, you'll have to trust me. It's working.
I can hear that.
Hold on, though. The whoosh, I don't think it's working at all. Yeah, I don't hear that at all. But the land on his feet is working, and okay. So I'm going to have to. Okay. Apparently, I'm too tired to not laugh every time that sound comes out. So I need to make new explosion sounds, and I'll just re-import them over those old ones once I fix that. But I won't do that during this video. Alright, so the last thing on the list is the control stuff, and for that we are going to go back into the event sheet dedicated to, what is it called, player input, and I'm just going to create a bunch of global variables here since they're directly related to this. So we're going to do, we'll do left, right, since you shouldn't be able to do both at the same time. We can use one variable for either, and we'll just make it go -1 or +1, right? Or 0 for no input. So that's good, and we can copy and paste that and just rename it to up, down. and then we will do another one. We will call this one jump. Oh no, yeah, in one of the variants, there's you're going to be able to press up to jump. If you want the actual like black belt style or Amiga style controls, like one button Amiga style controls. Mm-hmm. So I will just make it button 1 and button 2. So B1, B2. Keep it simple. Oh, it automatically renamed the number. That was cool, to B2. So that's all good. And then eventually I'll just do it ahead of time. We're going to have a pause. And that should be it for now. That's all the important stuff, right? So now we're just going to start making groups. So we're going to add a group, and we're going to do keyboard inputs. And we will start there. And we'll just drag that right in since those are keyboard inputs. Yeah, we don't want this to directly... Yeah, in fact, this whole thing now, we're going to put this into the gameplay events. Yeah, perfect. Under player animation, we'll put that right up at the top. And now, you see how this right here, it says keyboard right arrow pressed, keyboard left arrow pressed? Mm-hmm. We're going to change that in a second to, or we'll do it now, actually. Replace condition, and it's going to be compare variable, and it's going to be left or right. Oh wait, not left or right, sorry. That's going to confuse me. Left, right. Oh, yeah. I'll rename that to left, right input, so there's, yeah, so it's not so confusing. So left, right, that'll be left, right input equals 1 for right, and then left, right equals -1 for left. And we are going to go into, all right, just clear that, and left or right. Oh no, that one we're going to leave the same. It's player input, left, right, input. That's fine. I mean, maybe I'll eventually do it for all of them, but I'm not going to waste the time in this case. Okay, so now keyboard input, we're going to do keyboard. Key is down, and right arrow. Okay, done. And we're just going to set value, left, right input to 1. And we're also going to do left arrow, oops, left arrow, and we're going to make this -1. And then same thing for up arrow is going to be, oops, up, down.
And just to be clear, this is sort of a method of assigning multiple types of inputs, like things like the
control pad, touch screen,
whatever.
Right. So like there's going to be a group of events for each potential form of input, and there's a cool thing where you can make groups active or inactive depending on a situation. So only one of these groups will be active at any one time. And I'm going to have a few events that are outside of these that say if any key is pressed, deactivate the other input types and activate the keyboard input type. And then the same thing for control pad and the same thing for touch. So like the game will just instantaneously switch itself to the different modes, including the buttons, the touchscreen buttons disappearing when you're not using touchscreen mode.
Right.
So that's the idea. So up arrow, let's see, now we need down arrow. And this should be +1. And then we just need the buttons. So we have right now.
Are you thinking like if the touch input controls disappeared, were you thinking of leaving the border?
Yeah, the frame is always going to be there.
Disappear. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So, I mean, and we don't even need to do that. It's just something that we were doing for Cyberjack Actually, we weren't doing it for Cyberjack either, come to think of it. It was the platformer game engine for Construct that does it automatically. So yeah, maybe we won't do that. Like it, you know.
Well, it seems to me like it could be an option.
Yeah,
Like if
yeah,
people
yeah.
want the
I
border,
like-
they can have it.
Yeah,
and
I
then
like-
maybe they could just turn it off.
I
you
like
know?
giving people options. I agree.
Yeah.
Definitely. So we'll do that. We'll make it a menu option eventually. So up down is supposed to be button 1, value 1.
Sort of has a the Super Game Boy sort of vibe to it, you know. It's
Yeah,
good.
exactly.
Like I remember it did have like options for the border, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Things like that. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yep.
Not that it really changed much, you know,
Right.
but
All right. So now what we need to do, currently the problem is these values are going to be stuck. Like it'll never go back to 0 yet. So now we're going to just copy and paste this. I'm going to move it down and I'm going to negate it or invert it, I should say. And then the same thing with this. I'm going to copy it in and invert it. So now if you're not pressing right or left, then we're going to set left, right input back to 0. And we need to do the same exact thing with up and down. So I'm going to copy the first one, move it down, invert it, copy this, paste, invert, and change this to 0. There we go. And then we could do the same things for the button. There's another way we could do it, which is to add an else event. So this is one way to do it, else. And then you just do this and you set that to 0. So that this should work. The other way to do it, obviously, is to just do the exact same thing I did before, like that, and then just switch this to 0. So either one will work. So whichever you prefer. I'll just be sloppy and use both different methods.
sloppy code.
I know. Now, though, the problem is currently if we go back to the player events, punch is looking for a specific keyboard press, and we don't want that anymore. We want replace condition. I just thought of one other thing too, so hold on a second. But for now, compare variable button 1 is equal to 1. That's good. But so the thing is, we don't want it so you can just hold up and he'll just keep jumping up, like do the bunny hop. And the same thing with punch. We don't want it so if you hold punch, he'll just punch and then as soon as he's done, punch again without you having to let go and press again.
Right.
So instead of here, instead of just setting it to 1 and -1, we're going to add 1 or -1. Here we go. Add 2. I said add 2. Yes, left, right input. There we go.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, and then I can be lazy and copy and paste this and put it here, and I can add -1, which is logistically the same as subtracting 1. And then we need to do the same thing for up and down. So we're going to add -1 to up down, and we're going to add +1 to it when you press down. And same thing with the buttons. So B1, add +1. And oops. B2, add 1. There we go. So the reason I'm doing this is in the very next loop, which is obviously a 1/16 of a second if you're holding the button down, it'll be a -2 or +2 if you're holding the button. So you'll have to let go to be able to punch or jump again, if that makes sense. Actually, let me think. We technically don't need that for left and right, since you can just hold left or right, but we'll just keep it this way in case. Like I think I do want to add a double tap functionality eventually, so that might come in handy. So we'll see. All right, clear search. We're gonna go to gameplay events, and so B1 equals 1. That's good. And we currently have the super jump on the S key. Yeah, we want to get rid of that eventually. Yeah, we want it so to do the jump, super jump normally, you're holding up and doing... Okay, so I'm going to copy this and do this, and this is going to be... Change this to the jump button. So actually we made this attack. So actually, hold on a second. Let's make button 2 attack. I don't know which should be right yet, but we'll see. Button 1 is jump, and then up can be any value less than 0, because you can be holding it down. That's fine. So up down is less than 0. So now what we need to do is go in here. Oh, there we go. Okay. So default controls, we're turning that off now.
Okay.
So under gameplay events, I'll just add it to the top of animate player. We're going to do add, insert above, and we're going to do, yeah, we'll do the stuck and move check, compare variable, stuck and move. Where's stuck and move? Oh yeah, that's in the player, sorry. Compare instance variable, stuck and move equals 0. Oh, I did it twice? That's for that one. Okay, never mind. We could theoretically add it there too. So left right input equals 1. Yeah, alright, this is redundant for now. I'm tired. So now we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do... Okay, so that's what we gotta do. We need to add this platform behavior, and we're going to simulate control, and this is yep, and left, and now we need to add one for jumping, so we're going to copy and paste this. And we're going to make this button 1, I think I made jump, or now I'm confused, I forget. Equals to 1. Let's double check.
Now, what is the exact purpose behind this? The addition of the simulate control.
Alright, so you turn off the default control, right? Default control is stuck to specific keys on the keyboard. If you want to be able to make the character be controlled by anything and you'd be able to switch back and forth, or specific keys and stuff like that, you turn off default controls, and now you're the one that has to tell it, okay, if this variable is this way, or if a key is pressed, you simulate pressing left or pressing right or pressing jump.
Right, okay.
So that's what it's for. It like
I get it.
By default, it's like hijack. It's doing everything automatically for you, but it's limited. By getting rid of default, now we have control of exactly what inputs will simulate, the inputs for the behavior.
Okay, I got you.
So it's very handy. Oops, somehow. Okay, left, right. Yeah, I messed something up. Yep. Okay. That's what fatigue will do for you.
Right?
Yeah. I edited the wrong one after the fact. So left. Yeah, I think that's good now. And then, but we do need to check what is jump. So let's jump. B1 is indeed jump.
Okay.
Okay. So, but now we need to say B1. Okay, B1 equals 0. We don't want this. We just want to simulate jump. All right, I think that is everything. Did we do attack yet? I think we did. Which should be B2. B2 punch. Okay. So the only thing that and we did super jump, which is now actually correctly up and jump. All right. So let's see if all of this is working. So first I'm going to simply try walking left and right. Oh, it worked for a split second and now it's not, which means I forgot to... I think I'm checking for 1 or -1 instead of greater or equal to 0. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem. Edit. Greater than 0. Less than 0. There we go. Oh, now the moonwalk is worse, but I'll fix that. And let's see, jump button works, attack button works, super jump does not work. All right. Oh, I know why. Okay. Yep, okay. So one thing at a time, the super jump is not working because regular jump, we need to make sure that up is not being held. Does that make sense? Like this is hijacking. This is making the normal jump happen as soon as you press B, regardless of whether or not up is held. So it never gets a chance to do the super jump because it's already in the air, technically. But by the time it gets to that event, that would check. So where is that super jump? I'll just search for it again. Jump here, so up and down. And then here is regular jump. So we're going to do this and edit, and we're going to say... greater or equal to 0. So if they're holding down, it's fine, or if they're holding or not holding up, it'll work as a regular jump.
Mm-hmm.
And then that way the super jump should work now. What was the other weird issue? We were doing the moonwalk again?
Yeah.
So left or here it is. Here it is.
We want that though. So
that okay, so this we want to be the same thing. We want greater than 0 or less than 0. So that was the issue for that. Less than 0. So I think this may have completely fixed the moonwalking problem, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, it did not fix it at all. That's interesting. But let's see if super jump works. Super jump works. Regular jump works, attack works. Yep, everything's working fine, except we still, obviously, I did something wrong. Oh, this should be left or right. Okay. This is left or right, not left or right input. So, if we go into left or right, where does that get set now? I moved it in here at the top, right? Set left or right to 1... Oh, left to right is getting set to 1 in both of these. I didn't fix that. That's why. That's why. This should be -1. I'm going to pretend that that's fun for viewers when they're screaming at the screen. You idiot, like how can you not see these obvious mistakes you're making? So we are not moonwalking anymore. I don't think it's possible anymore. Yep, no, it's all fixed. Okay. So,
all right.
So the issue is the thing that we did not do yet is simply add the let's see, player input. So now let's move all this in there where it belongs, and let's copy that whole thing and edit. We'll rename it to D-pad inputs. And so now we have to replace this, replace condition. So this is to the right. So gamepad, unbutton pressed. Okay, D-pad right. I'll do it for D-pad for now. Gamepad, I assume 0 is player 1. Let's hope. All right. And then now we need to do this for left. Left. Get rid of this. And now we can copy this and invert it. Really? I can't invert it? Oh, okay. I did pressed instead of held down, I think. That's the problem. But in this case, I'll have to change it, or I'll have to switch to else. Like a civilized person.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just copy else. There we go. Alright, I think that's all good. So now, I do happen to have my Xbox controller plugged in, so... but what we need to do for now is just I'm going to edit this and set it to not be active on start, but D-pad input is. So now I should be able to control everything with my Xbox controller.
Nice.
Yep, I'm walking left and right with the D-pad. That's spiffy.
Awesome.
And I can attack, I can jump, and I can super jump by holding up. Working perfectly. Beautiful.
I think we have a game.
Yeah, it's getting there. Alright, so touch input.
Ship it.
Indeed.
Ship it. It's done.
Alright, so there was some kind of issue. Well, oh yeah, okay, so I think for this video, since it's dragging on and, you know, I made a lot of silly time-wasting mistakes, so let me get rid of this redundant event here. I think we will just make it so the game will automatically switch input types and we'll leave touch for another time.
Mm-hmm.
So, player input, and we're going to make both inactive at start. And we're just going to have events outside here, and it's going to say gamepad on any button pressed. We are going to general set group active. So one is called keyboard inputs. And we want that deactivated. And we want D-pad inputs. D-pad inputs to be active. And we want to replace this condition. And if any key is pressed, on any key pressed, didn't I say any? Yep, okay. We want to reverse these. So activate keyboard input and deactivate. Right? Mm-hmm. Otherwise, all of these else's and these things would make things bonkers. Like you'd press the key, but because you're not pressing like the button, does that make sense?
Right, yeah.
Like everything would be canceling itself out and stuff like that. It would be a giant mess. So this makes sure that only, and it's just more optimized. You're not running events for nothing. It closes entire groups depending on what should be happening. So let's make sure this is working. All right, so I am using keyboard. I forgot to hold up. Works perfectly. Pick up my controller, and I can just start using that. It works perfectly.
Very nice.
All right, so that's how we're gonna do the same thing with touch events next time, and next time we're also probably going to have a cool bipedal Earthbound. Oh, poor guy. Let's. I can't resist. Silence, please. There we go. Anyway, yeah, I think that's a good place to end the video.
Yeah, I think, you know, we spent a decent amount of time through all that. I think with the edits and cutting those parts down, like it'll be kind of normal length. You know?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so that's it. Thanks very much, everyone, for watching. Thanks, Corey, for being part of another, hopefully not so annoying video once I get the editing done.